So what do we got for you today? Well, what we got is Cyrus, friend of mine over at Still in the Clear channel. Okay, he came out with a Wheated Bourbon all grain kit, and I haven't opened this up yet, but supposedly it has everything that we need to make a wheated bourbon. We'll find that out here in a second. What I'll do is I'll put that in the description box down there. I'll put a link to his channel so you want to check him out. And if you want, if you like what you see, he gave me a discount code. I'll put that down in the description too. All right. But first things first. Welcome to Stillworks and Brewing. My name is Randy, and this is the channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. All right, let's open this box up and see what's inside. All righty. Let me open this up. All right. What do we got? Okay, so far what we got is 1.5 pounds of malted barley, and it's all milled. Okay. We also have 2 pounds of a malted white wheat. Okay, and it is milled too. Then we have 8.5 pounds of ground corn. Okay. And again, also, everything's been milled. That is fantastic. This is just going to make it so darn easy. Alright, so we got some Daddy's yeast. And we got some alpha, the high temperature enzyme, and the glucoenzyme. And we got some medium charred oak sticks for to age our whiskey. And also, what else is in the box is we got a nice thank you letter. I like that. You can get new recipes from Still in the Clear, and we got directions here of how to make this bourbon. And they look like it's pretty step by step. Nice and big letters for us old people that have a hard time seeing. Alright. So what I want to do is I'm going to make this bourbon. And oh, this is a nice chart here for this is great. Hey, I like this. Here is a chart of all the important PPGs and stuff. That will be very handy. I have to put that in my book. And here's a liquid enzymes guide. Oh, this is great. And how to calculate, how this was all calculated. Okay. This is very nice. Very, 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 very nice. And what else? The last page. And we got a little bit of instructions on how to oak it in the bottles. Alright, so what I want to do is I'm gonna make this per Cyrus's instructions. I don't think I'll be changing anything. I'm gonna try it just the way he designed it. So that's what's in the box. Looks pretty nice. Alright. So let me get set up and we're going to get started. Okay, per instruction, we put 4 gallons of water into our brew pot. We heated it up to 190 degrees. And just make sure that you have a pot that's big enough to hold like 8 gallons. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, stir in the ground corn, just a little bit at a time, so you don't have no dough balls. That makes sense. And what we want to do is then heat it back up to 190 degrees, stir it constantly, and we want to bring it back up to 190 degrees so we can cook that corn to get them starches released. Okay, so let's do that now. Alright, so we're at 190. Let me double check that. 194, but I know it's going to drop as soon as I add the corn. Okay. It's a hot one today. Alright, so we're going to stir in this corn. Turn the heat down just a little bit. We don't want to scorch that corn. Now, one thing, this particular pot is what they call a clad bottom pot. So in other words, it's two pieces of metal, and it will help it from scorching, but it can still scorch. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. Alright, let me finish adding this corn in. I do love the smell of corn cooking. Okay, there is the 8.5 pounds of corn. And a little bit I spilled. Alright. And just make sure that's all nice and stirred in. And what we want to do now is we want to cook this corn for 90 minutes. Let's just double check, see what our temperature is. Okay, it's 187, so we'll just turn a little bit of fire underneath of it just to make sure we can keep at 190. Okay? Okay, so let's go to step number 3. And what we're going to do is add in the malted barley and the malted wheat. And if you notice, that is pretty sticky. Yeah, I mean it's stuck. It's stuck there. So we're going to add in, and oops, I don't want that in there. So we just want to kind of stir this in. We don't want to get clumpy. Take your time. Okay, so that is the malted barley. Like I said, we're on step number 3. Alright, now the malted wheat. I do love a malted or a wheated bourbon. And you can actually see it's starting to thin up now because of the enzymes that's in this malted. So you can see it's starting to thin up. It's starting to take those starch molecules and starting to convert it over into sugars. When we add in that liquid enzymes, it will really start to thin up. All right. And as all you know, bourbon is one of my most favorite spirits. What I seem to make the most of because of that fact. All right. Okay, so that's step number 3. We stirred in the malted. We open this next package. Everything seems to be packaged very well. Okay, so step number 4. Step number 4, we're going to add the high temperature liquid enzyme, the alpha. And then we're going to stir this in, and it's going, if I get it open. Okay, so what we want, let me double check myself, yep. You can actually see it get thinner. Okay, according to the instructions, we want to stir this in and let it sit for 1 hour, and about every 20 minutes, just give it, you know, a quick stir. Okay, and you can see, look, it's even, I mean, it's running off the spoon. That was stuck on there. But you can see it's getting thinner by the minute, okay? So, like I said, in step number 4, we're going to let this go for 1 hour, and we'll stir it every 20 minutes, Okay, so we completed step 4. I did do an iodine test, and the starch conversion has taken place. So, now this is where I'm a little bit different than the Kit, because I know Cyrus, he likes to ferment on the grain. I'm kind of an off the grain person, okay? So what I'm going to do, just different of the directions you get, so it's whatever way you like to do it, is I will use my sieve bucket, and I will dump the grains and all here, and then this is where I will separate the grains from the mash. Okay, either way works perfectly, so just whatever way you like to do it. This is just my way. So once I separate the grains, I will add, once it's down to 90 degrees, I will add the glucose enzyme. Okay, so let me get started with this. So what I'm going to do is just dip the grains from the bucket, and this is how I separate it. Let me bring it down so you can actually see that. Okay. This system for me works pretty well. And I do have a video on how I made this. just have to dip some out. It's awful heavy. Okay, so what I do is then I'll just take cool water, sparge over those grains, give a little bit of a quick stir. And then what I'll do is let that drain or sparge through. Sometimes you move the bag. And what I'll do is do that until I collect my 6 gallons of wash. And then once we do that, then we'll move on to the next step, okay? What now is we need to check the temperature. And it is, well, it's 115. It's a little bit hot yet. So when it gets down to 90 degrees, I'm going to add in the glucoamylase. So if there's any other starches in there that needs to be converted, it will take care of that. And then I will be adding in 1 tablespoon of Daddy's yeast. Okay. So, where are we at with our Pacific gravity? Let me put a little drop on here. And we are, but you also got to remember, there is a little bit more starch in there that this is going to take care of. So I'm assuming that number will climb up some, okay? Alright, so we're going to go with that. So like I said, it's going to cool down to 90. We're going to add in our glucoamylase, and like I said before, that'll help convert anything that's left there over into sugars. So that number will climb, and then we'll add our yeast. So pretty much these goes in at the same time. Okay, so according to the directions, we will let this ferment for 7 to 10 days. It should be done, and then we'll move on to the next step of distillation. And after we get done distillation, then we'll be using the oak sticks that came in the kit. They're beautiful oak sticks. Okay, so, and they're a medium charred oak, and we're going to have some good wheated bourbon. And like I said before, I love my wheated bourbon. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this in the fermentation room, let it cool down. After a couple hours it'll cool down, then I'm going to go with the rest of it. I would like to thank Cyrus. I think this is a pretty nice kit. I would suggest everybody to go over and check his channel out, and also like I said before, that I'll put a link down in the description box of his channel so you get easy there, but it is stillntheclear. Cyrus is a great guy. So the last thing I got to say is, hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time here on Stillworks and Brewing. Cheers, everybody. Well, this is some good stuff.